Miami Hurricanes have an important vacancy to fill now on the staff. So, who's going to be the next defensive backs coach?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday Eve. I'm Alex Donno, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're free wherever you get your podcasts, free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. So as you guys know by now, we did cover it yesterday. Jahmile Addae, who's been Miami's defensive backs coach for the past 2 seasons, he has departed for a job in the National Football League. He's going to be the cornerbacks coach with the Buffalo Bills. So that's obviously a step up and a promotion for him. And now an opportunity for Mario Cristobal to find the best possible replacement at defensive backs coach. Now, I do expect the next DB's coach, I think, will have a focus more on the cornerbacks position, which is what Addae did this past year, because Lance Guidry, Miami's defensive coordinator, spends a lot of hands-on time with the safeties because he's got a safety coach's background. So I think the next DB's coach will be somebody who primarily works with the cornerbacks, okay? Now, this job being open, a lot of people are talking about potential Addae replacements, but I want to remind everybody, Mario Cristobal's loafers work in silence. So I don't think we can really say who the top candidates are, but we are throwing around names of interest. Because remember, I mean, Miami, they just hired a very off-the-radar running backs coach. I don't think anyone was talking about Matt Merritt before he ended up reportedly getting the job. That's still not finalized yet. But one thing I'm getting the sense of here in the early hours of this defensive backs coach opening, I hate to say this, and I hope I'm wrong about this, but the sense that I get is they're probably not going to go all in for my guy, Demarcus Van Dyke, because I'm getting the word and the sense that they still feel that DVD needs more seasoning as a coach before he comes home to Miami. I do think eventually Demarcus is going to come home, but maybe this cycle is not the time that's going to happen. Somebody who could become a top candidate for this job, again, could be, right? I don't know who Mario has called just yet, but a name getting thrown around a lot is Nick Monroe at Minnesota. He's the Golden Gophers cornerbacks coach and co-DC. Prior to his time at Minnesota, he was at Syracuse for 7 years. He's got a track record for developing corners, putting them in the NFL, also a strong recruiter. Was Nick Monroe for recruiting South Florida. So he's already built those high school connections in the area. There were some crazy streaks that Syracuse went on defensive backs-wise while he was there. Between 2018 and 2022, Syracuse had 58 interceptions in 60 games. That's pretty crazy. Nick Monroe's salary, reportedly $400K per year, which isn't that much compared to some other candidates of interest. So you could probably give him a raise pretty easily. Now, I see a lot of Miami fans bringing up the name Patrick Surtain Sr., who's currently coaching corners at Florida State. Now, obviously, if you could get Pat to come back home to South Florida, that would potentially be the home run hires of all home run hires. I don't know how attainable this is, okay? Because his job security at Florida State is fantastic. He's very well paid. He's reportedly making $700,000 per year, which is a lot for a position coach. I would think if there's any chance that Surtain, obviously lived in South Florida for many years, former Miami Dolphins great, American Heritage coach for so many years. So if he really wants to come home to South Florida, that could be the opportunity, right? Surtain, former head coach at American Heritage, has great high school connections. He's already doing a fabulous job recruiting at Florida State. He's a tremendous recruiter. Again, I don't know how attainable or realistic this one is, but maybe he wants to be on staff with his old pal and Dolphins teammate Jason Taylor. Someone I could definitely see Miami making a run at is Chevis Jackson, who's the cornerbacks coach and the co-DC at Marshall right now. Marshall, there's the Lance Guidry connection. He worked under Guidry for a year, And Jackson has also coached at LSU, Kansas, Ball State, and South Alabama. So there are some possibilities out there. I want to bring on our guest on this episode. Really happy this man can join us today. He's become an awesome connection for us on social media. He did a tremendous job a couple weeks ago getting that camera on Luke Nickel at Battle 7-on-7 and providing some awesome footage. And want to talk some Canes football today with our guy Dante. You know him as Q Sports Media on X. At Q Sports Media 2 is where you follow him. Dante, welcome aboard, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Donno. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm so happy to have you on. And I also want to note we're going to talk some Matt Merritt in a little bit with Q Sports Media because he's a USF alum. So he can probably tell us if Merritt would be a good hire, assuming he gets that running backs coach's job. But I want to talk about this defensive backs stuff first, Dante, because this is a huge opening on the staff right now. I mentioned some possible names. There's probably another dozen names out there that people in the comments can throw in. But do you have a leaning on who you'd like to see as the next DB's coach at the U?
So the two names that immediately pop up in my head are obviously DVD, Demarcus Van Dyke. All the Canes fans love him. My initial thought on DVD was that he'd be the guy to call. But like you said earlier, the Miami Hurricanes organization still thinks that he needs some time to develop. But I also witnessed that he tweeted yesterday, hashtag stay in the Bay, with a Michael Jordan gif that said, I took it personal. So we all know how social media gets. Don't know if that's towards the Hurricanes or not, but it could be. My second guy is another guy that you listed, Patrick Surtain Sr., which is an American Heritage guy. And Heritage to the U has been building over the last couple of years, ever since Cristobal has joined the staff. And I believe that Surtain could be a guy we could call up. You said he's at FSU right now. He hasn't been there too long.
Yeah, just this will be his second year coming up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, exactly. He got signed in 2023 in January, late, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
So I think he could be a major connection, especially with all the Heritage boys that we have at Miami currently. The connection he has with American Heritage, and like you said, Jason Taylor, his former teammate. So Patrick Surtain is another level above DVD, and that would be a great guy to bring in, just so that DVD could have his time to develop like the Hurricanes want him to. And I do think that DVD would be a guy that you'd have to bring back later because of the amount of recruiting that guy does. I mean, on the trail, he's unbelievable. When he was with us, he killed it, and he wasn't even the main cornerbacks coach. So if we can bring him back later on, I think that would do great for Mario and the recruiting staff.
Well, and let me circle back to DVD because I already mentioned, with your USF connection, like we were going to talk about Matt Merritt, but that's also the connection with Demarcus because he just took the job at USF like 2 weeks ago. And you talk about that stay in the Bay hashtag. So I'm guessing the USF community probably pretty stoked to have DVD on board given his recruiting reputation.
Yeah, for sure. The USF fan base should be very stoked. I am a USF grad. I'll always hold that true to myself. But I am a Cane at heart, and I've been a Cane since day one. So I don't know too much about USF, but I do know that Alec Golish has been taking that program over the year that he's been there to another level. I know the new stadium that they're building is super enticing for that staff, and not only for the staff, but for the campus as well, considering that they played at the Tampa Bay Buccaneer Stadium. Now they can just walk straight from the apartments to the stadium. You can tailgate. The campus is right there, walking distance from the stadium. So I do believe that USF is going to be a place to look out for, just like UCF was a couple years ago. Maybe even better than UCF, considering since they have all the new stuff coming in with the new indoor practice facility that they just built and the new stadium. When the coaching job came open, I did think that Dion would take it, and I was a little scared for
Yeah,
us.
so did I. Yeah.
I was scared for Miami fans because I do believe that Dion at USF would have been a little better and easier to recruit than Colorado. I think Dion would have killed it here in Florida at USF with all the new facilities coming through.
Well, I got a lot more I want to talk about it, especially having a USF alum. I do want to get Dante's take on Matt Merritt, who's reportedly becoming the new running backs coach at the University of Miami. Did a nice job this past season at USF. And I want to talk about early reports and returns on what Cam Ward is doing in offseason workouts and what the Cam Ward effect is going to look like for Miami this year. Got some thoughts on the Alonzo Highsmith position, which is now technically open as well. So, folks, we're only getting started on this episode of Locked On Canes. You know what you want to do? You want to keep it locked right here. And I know this week of all weeks, you are keeping it locked to FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Because not only can you bet on who's going to win Super Bowl 58, I'm still liking the Chiefs plus 2.5, guys. That experience, as long as Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback, I don't think I can go against them. FanDuel also has bets for things like which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored. I think it's worth putting a little bit of money on Travis Kelce at even money for anytime touchdown scorer. And there's so much more, guys. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For the everydayers, we love you. And if you want to take that everydayer experience to the next level, sign up for our exclusive Locked On Canes Insiders chat. You can click the link in the show description below. I send you guys text message updates directly from my phone to yours with breaking news, all sorts of recruiting scoops, staffing news like we've been getting the last couple of days, one-on-one questions. I think we're going to do a Q&A show tomorrow, so send those questions in for Friday. Try it free for 14 days by clicking the link in the show description below for Locked On Canes Insiders. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. We are joined today by our guy Dante from Q Sports Media. You see this guy putting in the work, going out to high school games, going out to 7-on-7 tournaments. This is like a future Larry Bluestein in the making right here. Follow him on X at Q Sports Media 2. Speaking of which, Dante, you got the chance. I wish I could have been there in person, but it happened on my anniversary, so I had to sit that one out. You got to watch 2025 Miami Hurricanes commit Luke Nickel throwing the football and winning at the Battle 7-on-7, getting coached by Cam Newton. What were your takeaways from watching Miami's future, I believe future QB1, up close and personal?
So my first take was I didn't realize how stocky Luke Nickel was. And I believe that's going to be really good, especially for him coming in as a true freshman with the spot being open and ready to compete. Luke is a fiery guy on the 7-on-7 throughout the whole weekend. I mean, he was competing. Nobody could touch him. I believe that Cam Newton and him being his coach and being right there. So a lot of the times Luke Nickel will set up and they'll do their motions and whatever. And Cam might see something. So he'll stop everyone and Luke will look back and Cam will communicate to him, I see this, I see that. And, man, Luke dominated the whole weekend. It was not close. Guys were wide open. And I wouldn't say that's just because of the wide receivers. Luke and his eyes are very deceiving. He's really good at looking off safeties and cornerbacks and throwing into tight windows. I was recording Luke from the back end zone and from behind him. And when I was in the back end zone and they got into the red zone, they had a play where he would look down to the flat and then come right back to the over route to the back of the end zone. And it was spot on every single time. I mean, it got to a point where the first couple times he made the throw was coming right at me, and I would flinch because I don't want my camera to get hit, or I don't want to get hit. Maybe I have to catch the ball, use my old wide receiver hands from back in high school.
There you go.
So it got to a point where I just let the camera sit there because he was so spot on. I had one shot where the ball was coming right towards my camera, and out of nowhere, the receiver's hands just comes right into the screen, and there was no flinch involved. Credit to myself. But man, he's different. He really is. He's deceiving with his eyes. His accuracy is pinpoint. His deep ball is awesome. He has a wide receiver on his team. I believe his name is CJ Weiler or CJ Wiley, and real tall kid. And Luke knows how to put that ball up in the air, because anytime it was going to CJ, he was the only one that was able to put his hands on it. And I believe that's a really big thing, especially for college quarterbacks, because the flow in college football nowadays, and even the NFL, has been that back pylon fade, the back shoulder throw. Luke has all of that.
Dude, that's a fantastic. I love that breakdown, and I love the up close personal experience you got covering him. And yeah, go ahead.
I got one more thing, and it was the biggest thing that I noticed. I was with Azubi, and Azubi was doing an interview with Cam Newton and Luke Nickel. Footballville was right there to witness. So a bunch of us were there. Brian Smith was there as well. But the biggest thing was they asked Cam Newton whether if Luke Nickel was a game manager or a game changer. And Luke's was only a 3-star at the time. Cam mentioned that in the interview. Cam also mentioned that he's not a game changer, that he's a game manager. Cam also noted that throughout Luke's progression, and if he keeps taking the steps, the state championships, all the stuff that he's done so far, he will become a game changer. That's what Cam Newton says. I believe it. But the one thing that I really took from that was the fact that Cam Newton told Azubi with Luke right there listening to the conversation that he's a game manager.
Yeah.
He told him that he was only a 3-star, that he would reach the 4 and 5-star status, but that he's not there yet. Luke kind of giggled and smiled at it, which I liked, because a lot of the kids in these days will take that criticism and be like, why are you saying those things about me? I just played a really good game. They'll take offense to those kind of things.
Yeah.
Luke kind of takes it as like a challenge, you know? He came out there the next game and dominated. I mean, in the game before, he dominated as well. So you would think that a quarterback like Luke, with all the cameras on him, because there was so many people on the sidelines and in the end zone looking at Luke, and for a kid like that to just take the challenge and not be fazed at all, I mean, literally at all, it was almost like something that he was able to laugh off and be like, all right, let's do this then. So
dude,
that's
I love that.
The biggest thing I took from Luke was his mindset, and the fact that Cam told him to his face that you're a 3-star and you're a game manager, and he was still able to come out and, I mean, deep bombs, looking guys off. It was way too easy for Luke at Battle Miami.
Well, it sounds like not only is the future bright at quarterback from Miami, Nickel's going to be arriving in 2025. The present also seems pretty bright, with Cam Ward is on campus going through offseason workouts. He's throwing to wide receivers. Spring football is going to start in less than a month. The first practice is March 4th. I can't wait to cover that. And we've been talking on this show about kind of the intel we've been getting on how the offseason workouts are going, certain guys who are really standing out, and some of the latest. I know Gabby talked about this on on Inside the U this week that apparently the chemistry is really developing between Cam Ward and Jacoby George, that like the two of them are really getting on the same page, building elite chemistry and workouts. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come for the season coming up. But it's like, man, Dante, I mean, how much do you think Cam Ward can just raise the ceiling for Miami football this coming year?
A lot. And I think that this is real big for Miami just because of the fact that Miami recruited against the NFL this time. And that's huge for us. That's a big eye opener for quarterbacks that we may need in the transfer portal years on. Not saying that Luke might not be the starter, not saying that Jakari isn't going to have a chance to start next year, or any of those guys that are in the room right now. But with Cam Ward and beating the NFL to get him, that's huge. I mean, that's big time stuff right there. And now that we're losing coaches, not to college football teams, but to the NFL, that's even bigger for new coaches that are coming in. But with Cam Ward, and now that we have Matt Merritt, which is the running game coordinator, you guys are saying, oh, why are you talking about the run game coordinator if Cam Ward's job is to pass the ball? Well, Cam's very mobile, and not only just in the pocket, but outside of the pocket as well. Matt Merritt at USF, he had a new quarterback, and I think his name is Byron Brown. He actually led the Bulls in rushing this year.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, that's a big thing with Matt Merritt being the run game coordinator, because obviously those are plays that he's designing, and those are plays that his input is very well, in those plays. And with Cam Ward being able to run, I think that's going to be a huge implement into our offense, especially since in college football, a running quarterback is a major killer for a defense, especially going fast, having the idea of, man, this Cam can run, so these linebackers got to stay put, and they got to be able to make sure that this quarterback doesn't run, which is going to leave those over routes, those deep routes with the safety watching Cam. That's going to be huge. So the fact that we got Cam Ward, a future NFL guy, this is only going to change the Miami program, not only for this year, but for years to come, with the expectations of Miami for years to come.
Great insight on Matt Merritt as well. I want to continue the conversation here with Q Sports Media on the other side. I was talking with somebody about the Alonzo Highsmith position, so I want to talk about that a little bit as well. He also left yesterday. He's taken a front office job with the New England Patriots. Folks, we're not done yet, my friends. It's Super Bowl week. It's Friday Eve here on Locked On Canes. You want to keep it locked right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And guys, you want to keep it locked to Game Time, because they have your big game week. If you're looking for last minute tickets to that big game, guys, imagine if you were in Vegas this weekend with an extra $100 in your pocket. I'd probably take it right to the blackjack table, or I would take it to the Bellagio buffet or something. Guys, Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets to all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, all users get $100 off when you buy a big game ticket for this weekend with the code Vegas100. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat at Game Time, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I'm actually looking at, if you're in South Florida tonight, you can get $14 tickets to the Florida Panthers hosting the Washington Capitals tonight. You're not going to find deals like that anywhere else other than Game Time. And of course, all the big game stuff going on, guys. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket with the code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use code Vegas100 for a $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the big game, you can use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase for a local event. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. And make sure after you listen and watch Locked On Canes, you watch Locked On Sports Today. This network has launched the first ever 24/7 streaming sports YouTube channel. National experts and local experts like myself are always on Locked On Sports Today, 24 hours a day, talking about the big stories in sports. We're talking about some of the big stories in sports here with our guy Dante, Q Sports Media. Now, I mentioned Dante. Miami's only loss wasn't Jahmile Addae yesterday. Alonzo Highsmith, who was the GM of football operations, left for an NFL front office job in New England. I was having a conversation yesterday with someone who covers the team, like myself, but pretty close to the situation. I think he knows Highsmith, and I'm not convinced that they're actually going to fill his job. And I think maybe part of the reason why Alonzo left in the first place was his role was not that clearly defined. I mean, he had his hands in a lot of things. I know Alonzo, he's a scout at heart, so he was doing a lot of scouting of prospects, and he was apparently involved in budgetary decisions and culture building. The job was created uniquely for him. I don't necessarily think they're going to hire a replacement, Dante. I think they may just kind of split his responsibilities among the athletic staff.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think that Alonzo was brought in at the start because of how bad the program was left. Not throwing any shade towards Manny. Manny was a great guy. He did wonders for us and the whole nine. I'm not throwing shade at him. But the program was left not where it's supposed to be. And Alonzo was a huge impact on changing that. He left the blueprint, an NFL blueprint of something that's not going to fail. I believe that this is Mario's program. Mario wants to take this place to new heights. I think that Alonzo brought the blueprint, and this is now Mario's time to take that blueprint and take it to the next level, especially with the kind of recruiting that he does and the kind of recruiting that his staff does. Along with Merritt coming in, he's also another big recruiter, and that DB spot as well is where we'll need I'm sure we'll bring another recruiter in there.
Yeah, Dante, I wanted to ask you because you're out there very active covering high school recruiting events and stuff. How often do you see Miami staffers out there on the trail? Because it seems like this staff is probably more active on the recruiting trail than any staff we've had down here, maybe since Butch Davis.
Yeah, so Miami staffers are around a good amount of the time. I believe last year, this last football season, it was game 1, American Heritage versus Chaminade Madonna, and Mario Cristobal was there. Kevin Beard was there. I got to talk to both of them and introduce myself to both of them. We had great conversations about the kids that were taking the field. And I believe stuff like that is so big for our kids down here. Kids like Malachi Tony, who I'm a big fan of. He is an electric kid. A couple of other guys that Heritage has, Denson, Brandon Bennett, and Dia Bell. So seeing guys like Mario Cristobal and Kevin Beard at these games is huge for these kids because you don't get to see these other head coaches really often. They get to see Mario, Kevin Beard, and all of these guys a decent amount around these events in South Florida.
Well, I'm glad you're able to go out there, and then the next time I don't have an anniversary or something, and I can head out to one of these events, I'm going to look for you, and I'm going to look for Zuby, who you know and I know very well. He does an awesome job at Kane Sports. So, Dante, thank you so much, man. Everybody, make sure you follow him at Q Sports Media 2 on X. You can just search Q Sports Media; it's going to come up. Thank you so much, man, and enjoy the rest of your week and weekend coming up.
Awesome, go Canes.
Go Canes. We'll talk to everybody next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. And again, I want to mention this for the Locked On Canes insiders, and you could try it free for 14 days. Click the link in the show description below. I'm going to be taking you guys' questions for a Q&A episode tomorrow. We're going to have a Q&A Friday tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.